Chapter 1. The Stillness. The canopy of the Whispering Wilds was a tangled cage of ancient wood, hanging vines, and damp, heavy moss. To a stranger, the forest might look serene, but to those who lived within its borders, it was a place of constant, chaotic noise. Usually, the forest breathed. It chattered with the snapping of dead twigs, the low, territorial rumble of canopy boars in the heavy brush, and the endless, piercing symphony of the silver-winged raptors hunting in the upper branches. But today, the air was entirely dead.
Too quiet. Even the wind is holding its breath.
Kaelen knelt in the damp, dark soil of the forest floor. He was a silencer, an elite barkskin scout trained from childhood to move through the dense undergrowth without displacing a single leaf. His armor was crafted from hardened leather, meticulously smeared with dark pine sap and crushed charcoal to blend seamlessly into the deep shadows of the roots. He reached out, pressing his bare fingers into a massive, fresh footprint sunk deep into the mud.
3 toes. A heavy, uneven strike. Passed here less than an hour ago. But why is nothing screaming? A beast this size moving through the brush should have scattered every flock for miles in every direction.
He stood slowly, his sharp eyes scanning the thick, unnatural fog that clung to the bases of the massive iron oak trees. The fog itself seemed incredibly heavy, swallowing what little gray light managed to pierce the tangled canopy above. He unhooked a heavy iron hunting knife from his belt. The leather grip was worn perfectly smooth from years of use, molded to the exact shape of his hand.
Come on, make a sound. A snapped branch. A heavy, wet breath. Give me a target.
But the woods offered absolutely nothing. The silence was absolute, pressing against Kaelen's eardrums like physical weight. He closed his eyes and fell back on his deepest training. He slowed his heartbeat, taking shallow, measured breaths. He opened his mouth slightly to let the stagnant air pass over his tongue, tasting the atmosphere for the metallic tang of blood or the sour stench of rot. The familiar damp, earthy smell of the Whispering Wilds was entirely gone. Instead, the air tasted strangely dry. It tasted like burnt earth and ancient dust.
Here in the deep canopy? That makes no sense. The nearest forge is a month's ride across the border.
He took a cautious step forward, his soft-soled boots making zero impact on the moss. He was hunting a discordant, a creature warped and mutated by the decaying magic of the realm. Normally, a discordant was incredibly loud. Driven mad by the rot in its blood, it would shriek in agony, thrashing blindly against the natural order, breaking trees and tearing up the earth in a blind rage. But this trail was chillingly neat. The massive footprints were deep and heavy, but no surrounding branches had been snapped. No bushes had been trampled.
Wait, the canopy.
Kaelen snapped his gaze upward. The massive branches above, usually swarming with life and movement, were completely bare. The intricate nests were still there, clinging to the intersections of ancient wood, but they were abandoned. There were no feathers drifting down, no distant territorial calls, no rustling of wings against the leaves. It was as if the entire upper half of the world had simply been erased from existence.
They did not fly away. I would have heard the exodus. Thousands of wings taking flight all at once would sound like thunder. They are just gone.
A deep, vibrating pressure began to build in Kaelen's ears. It was not a sound, but the total absence of one. A terrifying, unnatural vacuum. It felt like standing at the absolute bottom of a deep, frozen lake, crushed by the weight of the water above. He reached to his chest, unbuttoning a small, reinforced leather pouch secured over his heart. Inside rested a rusted, 2-pronged metal tool. A tuning fork, forged in an era long before the forest grew dark.
Let us see what the earth has to say.
He did not strike the fork against his blade. Instead, he simply held it up to the dead, heavy air. The metal, which should have been ice-cold in the fog, was feverishly warm to the touch. It trembled violently in his hand, humming with a frantic energy, fighting against the suffocating silence pressing in from all sides.
The resonance is being drained. Something is drinking the sound of the forest.
Kaelen slid the trembling fork back into its pouch, securing the heavy iron button. The nature of the hunt had instantly changed. He was no longer tracking a beast. He was tracking a void. And the trail of absolute, suffocating silence led directly into the oldest, darkest heart of the wilds.